All right, friends, welcome to another episode of Money on Your Mind. This question for today's episode comes from Mark. Mark is asking, when should he start taking Social Security? Well, Mark, I don't know your personal financial situation. And so I think it's something that you need to, as I often say, involve your financial planner, your wealth advisor, your tax preparer, your tax advisor, to understand how that's personally going to affect you. Do you want to take it at 62? Do you want to take it at 65? Do you want to take it at full retirement, which for some people is 66 or 67? Or do you want to wait until 70? One thing that I want you to consider is your longevity. So how long, of course, if we had a crystal ball, you could answer this question for me. How long do you think you'll be living? Well, you can base some of that off of, how long have people in your family lived? Have you had an element of longevity? In my family, my grandmother is still living. She's 94. My grandfather lived until 92. I likely will have some level of longevity. That being said, my dad also has early onset dementia and he's 71 years old. So there are elements that can play into that, or their illnesses. That's going to determine a huge part of, should you be taking it earlier rather than later? Also, do you have a need for income? Maybe you retired earlier than expected. Do you want to be able to take that money to live off of? With the caveat, the earlier that you take it, usually the less that is accessible to you. So understanding that as you start to take some of these things, withholding that time frame might allow you to be able to gain more monthly income for yourself. Also, understanding what other sources of income that you have and how those will affect the taxation of your Social Security. Depending on whether you are married or if you are single, you will have a certain threshold that you are allowed to have other income before portions of your Social Security then become taxable to you. So there are a lot of different elements that you want to play into. Of course, some people just want to say, well, I want to start it today, without understanding the stipulations of how those things can be affected. I've had clients before who have started too early and then ended up taxing their income because they were still working at a higher rate. And then that whole Social Security became taxable when it didn't necessarily have to, and they could have been pulling that Social Security later on in life. Needless to say, I'll give a little plug for financial planning. Financial planning, much of what we do is around income planning. What is the smartest place for you to start turning spigots on, turning spigots off? Where should you be accessing those spaces for income? And so it doesn't just have to do with Social Security, but understanding, again, that full financial picture. So understanding what your longevity is, understanding the taxation of things, and understanding your full financial plan and how everything is affected. Thank you so much for tuning in to Money on Your Mind.